Good morning. Today is December 31st. It's the last day of the year, 2021, and I just want to show you what's going on. Ever since Christmas, for this whole week, we've had snowstorms here, so it's been pretty awesome. Today it's kind of partly cloudy. There's been a lot of serious snow cover. There's been some days when the sun only shone for about 2 minutes, so it didn't warm up my solar wall in the walipini very much at all. But the lows have only been in the 20s and 30s. For most nights, we've had some nights in the teens. But tonight and tomorrow night, it's supposed to be at 0 degrees. The clouds are going away and that cold air is going to rush in and freeze us out good. So we're going to go out there and see what's happening. Hopefully the sun shines today through the walipini and warms up that boulder wall so that it doesn't get too cold in there. But we're going to go out and we're going to see what it looks like. The wind was blowing last night, so there's some small snow drifts around. And here we go to check out a winter wonderland. Okay, here's a nice little drift. Oh, that's about 3 feet deep. Wow. But I'm not sinking in all the way, so everything's okay. Let's go. Oh man, my feet are sinking in about 6 inches here. Let's see what the temperature reads today. It's 25 degrees, so it's not super cold. There's some blue sky. We haven't seen blue sky for a while. And there's some ominous clouds around. Take a look at the greenhouse. The covering has survived okay through the wind. Let's take a look and see how this looks over here. Have a good drift here, probably 14, 16 inches deep. All right, it's pretty exciting. Let's go see what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so it's pretty fun in here. Let's just take a look at things and see what we can see. Alright, the seedlings are growing okay. Nothing's dead in here. This electric heat pad is on. I'm watering this about every other day right now, which Could be too much in the winter time. Okay, we gave those a drink. So this is how the seedling room looks on the last day of the year of 2020. Just take a look around. Some snow came through. Sometimes you don't know where the holes are. Obviously there's a little hole where the wind has been blowing through up there, and so the little snowflakes have been catching in here, there, and in the corner. So there's a few places that snow's getting in. Let's just look and see. I want to test this and see what's happening. So it's around 30 to 32 degrees in here because the water, there's some moisture on here, but there's liquid water. There's ice on here, but when I touch it, my hand's getting wet. So it's right around the freezing point. But the plants under here look okay. Everything's good. So we just keep this covered. Keep it covered all winter. So this will be fun. Fun to see what's happening. This pea plant can teach us a lot right now. Let's take a good look at this pea plant. Okay, so this pea plant is growing out of the stone wall. I'm going to zoom up on it a little bit. It's interesting because this pea plant, it's showing some yellowing in the leaves because it's been cold. It also could be a nutrient problem a little bit because there's just dirt up there. The soil is not functioning well up there at all. But the flowers, they're new, fresh, growing flowers with no protection other than the greenhouse itself. And if you look just to the right of it, there's snow coming in, hitting these rocks from a little hole in the roof. But the pea plant still has pea flowers that are blooming. They're blooming fresh right now. So that is pretty awesome. So there's enough warmth to keep this pea plant from dying. I mean, it does freeze here at night along that rock wall on the super cold nights. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few days with tonight's supposed to be 0 degrees. Tomorrow is supposed to be -1 for a low, and our high tomorrow will get up into the 20s. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. But the goal here is to not heat the greenhouse. The goal is to find which plants and which varieties of plants will grow in here without any supplemental heat. We don't want to have artificial heat going on. I want to take a look at this row right here. Move this off and look and see what's under here. So we have garlic that's growing. That's the #1 purpose of this bed, is to grow a crop of garlic. And then we have an abundance of different kinds of greens in here. There are lettuces in here, different kinds. That's a weed, that's a lamb's quarters. See, it was going to seed. Right there, there's seed pods. Those are resilient plants. And then we have the beet greens in here. So this is pretty wonderful. We could come through. These are pretty thick, so we can come through, we could thin these out a little bit. Have a wonderful winter treat. That'll be great. So there's a lot of food in here right now. We just have to get busy and eat it. Let's walk around and see what else we can see in them. Lettuce is looking pretty good. Right here we have some red cabbage. Small red cabbage plants. These will probably be ready to harvest around sometime in April. So that's good. There's a younger planting of lettuce. So there's a lot of exciting things happening in here. Let's go look at the cover crop. Let's do a quick look at that. See if I'm smart enough to set up a tripod. Could be a challenge. But these daikon radishes are growing in here. So what we have here again, if you haven't been watching the other videos, we have hairy vetch, which is growing wonderful. The grass is rye, cereal rye. And then we have this leaf here. This is the daikon radish. And the radishes are big. That's where it goes into the ground, that's thicker than an inch. And those are probably going 8 to 10 inches deep right now. Maybe even more. Let's see. Okay, I've zoomed up on a daikon radish here. It's in bed number 2 where I have the cover crop. This radish is over an inch thick right there. Straight through that. This one is about the same. That one's nice and thick. And then here's a big bunch of rye. So the rye grass, this is cereal rye, but this rye, it gets huge. The root system on one rye plant can get 380 miles long. So it puts an amazing amount of carbon into the soil. And when this rye plant dies in the springtime, because it's an annual, it'll go to seed and then it's dead, all of that root mass in the soil will feed the microbes. And if it hits a hard pan, it'll stop and go sideways. But with these daikon radishes, they will go down and they will penetrate through hard pans and make holes in the hard pan. We should pull this one up just for educational purposes. Okay. It broke off. I heard it break, but I don't think the main taproot broke. Okay, so it broke right there. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick where the end broke. So who knows how far that one went down. But that is long. That goes, it's a cubit. Look at that, it's a cubit long almost. Minus an inch. From the elbow to the, maybe it's the outside of the elbow. I don't know what a cubit is. But anyway, there's a beautiful daikon. It's a good foot long. And so this creates that channel that goes way down in there. And the earthworms, these will die. If you have these outside, they're going to die in the winter. And then this root will grow through a hard pan. See how this is crooked right here? I just pushed it in and broke it again. But right here where it naturally turns a little bit, it kind of has a little bend right here. That shows me that it was having stress. It was trying to go through something. So I think it penetrated some kind of a hard pan down there, which is awesome because that is the purpose of these. Anyway, these will rot and die when they die naturally. The earthworms love this. They come through and they just chomp all this up. They turn it to soil. The microbes will decompose this stuff. It is great. So I'm just going to leave that one there. It's pretty well dead because of what we just did to it. But it's earthworm food. So now, what we want is to actually get earthworms in here. So we need to go to the earthworm bin. And I need to bring some handfuls of earthworms and put them in this area. Let's go take a look at the earthworm bin over here. Alright, here we are at the earthworm bin. Move this tub out of the way. I'm going to roll this open. I keep this plastic on top of this worm bin to help insulate it a little bit. Okay, so we've opened that up there, and now we want to look in here. Okay, so here's a big beautiful worm, right here, right there's a worm, here's a worm. This is, I think there's enough microbial activity in this compost, even though it's not in a thermophilic stage. There's enough activity that it keeps it from freezing in here when this is on top. Okay, I've got my cake pan here. I'm going to put my cake pan right here in front of me. I'm going to dig down in the center of this. And the first thing I'm going to do when I bring this up is I'm going to smell it. Look, I buried a little bit of carrot tops. And I'm smelling for any foul smell at all. And I didn't smell anything. So I put it in my sifter, and I'm just going to sift it gently. And then we'll dump that right there. And then what sifts through here, if I see an earthworm, I'll take him out and I'll leave him in here. Now if I am going to put the earthworms over there, I would have another container and I would just start stacking worms. See, here's one. Here's one, and I would just start picking worms out of here until I get about 100. When I get a handful between 25 and 100, when I get between 25 and 100 worms, I'll just put them along bed one about every 4 feet, and then that will inoculate these worms into that bed. But I'm not quite ready to do that yet. I want to wait till the coldest temperatures of winter are over before I move them over there and they have to establish a new home. So I'm going to dig down here. I'm not using a shovel on purpose. I'm just using this little fork because a shovel blade going in is going to crush worms and smash things. So I prefer this little fork. Now I'll just sift it a little bit like that. And then I don't sift it much more than that. The big stuff is there. And I have a few worms in here. Now I'm going to use this that I've sifted for potting soil to put in my pots. Just looking here. And if there's a worm in here, it's fine to leave a couple of worms in here because they'll just be in the potting soil. The other thing that'll be in here, all the cocoons, which are the earthworm eggs, and that's awesome because then when we plant a little pot, we plant seeds in a pot, then we move the pot into the ground out here and it just inoculates the garden with worms. So this is a good way to do that. Okay. So the main thing I'm doing today is I'm just checking this to make sure it's staying aerobic. And the way that I know it's aerobic is because of the smell. So you got to get your smeller going. And if there's a good, earthy, wonderful earth smell, it's probably not the best thing in the world. What you want is no odor at all. Little bit of a beautiful smell in there, like a forest floor. So that would mean that things are pretty good, but there's a lot of microbial activity going on. Alright, there's a worm. We'll leave you out, put you out. Okay, so there's enough soil for some pots to start some things with. So this is not quite finished compost because there's a lot of pieces that have not decomposed yet. But that would make a good potting soil right there. And I'm glad to know that that's not smelling funny. So it's going to be cold today. And I don't want to move the worms today because it's just the end of December. January is normally our coldest month. So I'm going to wait till February and then we will inoculate bed number 2 with a couple of thousand earthworms to help eat that cover crop so that soil gets functioning. Alright, I hope you have enjoyed. I'm just going to leave that there for now because I don't really need it. I hope you have enjoyed this video today, looking at some things on the last day of the year. Alright, we want to keep this covered to help keep it from freezing at night. And if it does get cold, those worms are going to have to die and go down deeper than they were. Okay, I watered the seedlings today, so there's only one more thing to do out here, and that is to shut the propagation door. This soil right here is frozen, right here. So it's probably about 29, 30 degrees in here. So we've had such cold, it's been cold, just generally cold, but we have not had any sun since before Christmas. Just a few minutes a day. It was usually in the morning before the angle of the sun could come through and hit this wall. So our solar wall has not helped us stay really warm in here. Last winter we had 5 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and it only got to 30 degrees in here under the row covers. It will be very interesting to see what happens tonight because it's partly cloudy today, and I don't know that we'll get very much solar gain in this wall. So we may get quite a bit colder under those row covers. So it'll be interesting to see. But this is a big, grand, beautiful experiment. And even if it got down into the teens under there, those plants, most of those, I think every species in here can freeze solid. And then once it warms up, they'll start growing again. So even if we have a week or two where things stay really cold, I think we're going to be okay with our crops. Thank you for watching The Winter Wonderland. Okay, here we go. Jared's on the backhoe hauling hay today. He's hauling hay and plowing snow. A little bit of sunshine on the mountain today. And we have clear skies above us, except that big cloud is keeping the sun from hitting our greenhouse. So hopefully that cloud moves away and the sun comes out and heats up this greenhouse for the rest of the afternoon, and then maybe we won't have such bitter temperatures all winter long. I mean all night long. Here's Apricot Cottage and the last day of the year.